welcome back to the Let's Talk About Things podcast. We are at the tail end of May. I think this is episode 8 of our second season. And we had a fantastic response to our last episode. We had our guest Hudson on there, and he had so many good words of wisdom. And it was really cool to hear from a male perspective. So we're definitely going to be doing more types of interviews like that. But for today's episode, you just get good old us for you. So Lacey is holding a strange little basket if you're watching us. It's my daughter's Easter basket, but it works. And she's got some cards in there that I'm a little scared of.
No, so I know a lot of podcasts open up with stories or things that are that they can relate to people, but I've had this game, y'all, that I've had for about 4 years now. It's technically for couples, but you can play it with anybody, really. It's not really a play game, it's just questions, but the cards are really insightful. They have different categories: miscellaneous, relationship, past, that kind of stuff. And I figured Holly and I could start opening up our podcast with some fun questions rather than just, how was your week? That's so basic. So I'm just going to kind of grab a card. I mixed them up. I did not keep them organized. Oh boy. So we're just going to see. And then it's actually really cool. If it has anything to do with relationships, we'll skip that. That's stupid.
She's already picking and choosing.
Because it's about middle school. That doesn't have anything to do with
Hey, middle school's jungle. You can find some deep-seated trauma.
Okay, this one says personal, and it says, what's the dumbest thing you've ever cried about? A man.
Cried about?
I'm going to say a man.
Well, yeah. I don't know.
I think that time that I accidentally wanted to, wasn't it that I stole that jelly purse from Walmart and Mom made me go back and pay for it?
Oh, I would be crying too.
I was like 4.
Okay, let's say adult. Okay. Dumbest thing you've cried about as an adult.
Okay, as an adult, a man.
That's it? Just men?
No, a boy that did not deserve my tears. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. I'm trying to think back.
Oh, wait, actually, can we say, as females, the dumbest thing I've ever cried about is when my hormones are all crazy and it's like the luteal phase. The women that know. When you're in your luteal phase, I've cried over, just seeing how chaotic my house is, or sometimes just, tripping over something and I absolutely cannot take it anymore, or you stub your toe and you've had everything against you that day. One tiny prick is all it takes if you're in your luteal phase.
I'm having trouble with this one because anybody that knows me knows I barely have tear ducts. I don't cry a whole lot. But I can think of a time I got PO'd about something stupid. I cried, just not much. Even when I was pregnant, I didn't cry. My hormones didn't do that to me, but I did get pissed at Lacey while I was pregnant.
I was your punching bag. For some reason, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even breathe air without upsetting her.
Oh my God, pregnancy hormones.
And I even told you that. I was like, hey, look, I understand. I remember having that conversation. I was like, I'm not going to lie. I was like, I've kind of taken a few beatings the past few months, and I'm cool with that because you're carrying a child. But when are you due? I was so over it. I was like, I'm about to pop that baby out of you.
I was ready too. The instance I'm thinking of has to do with one of my dogs. It was so stupid because this whole question is about the dumbest thing.
It's so true though. We have pictures. We can stitch a photo of those crescent rolls. It's the cutest thing.
Oh my God.
First off, it's cute. I love that he's chunky. I love that he's got
people don't know what we're talking about. So backstory, I'm fully pregnant, and anybody that's ever been pregnant knows that you feel like a psycho. None of your thoughts make any sense at all, and everything upsets you for no reason. So I had sent them a picture of one of my dogs, Chief, and everybody that knows Chief knows he's a big boy. He's a chunk. He likes to eat. He's part lab. He likes to eat. He's got a little chunk on him. He's not morbidly obese or unhealthy, but he's chunky.
It's cute.
And I had sent a cute picture of him, and in this picture you could totally see this dude's rolls, and I mean
they were crescent rolls.
And Lacey started saying something about oh, what a fat little chunk or something, some little harmless comment, and I absolutely lost my shizness. I went off on her and got so defensive of little Chief, and just I mean, and it was in a group chat. So everybody in the group chat's sitting there like, what in the world just happened? Like Holly's going off because someone called her dog fat.
Well, no, and the funny part about that was she was already upset because she just got back from taking Chief to the vet, and the vet had told her he could lose a few pounds. I didn't know this. So I was like, he had crescent roll legs, and he's got these cute little chunky. I love chunky dogs. Like, I love that they're chunky. I want a Shar-Pei, y'all. I have wanted a Shar-Pei forever. I want all the big dogs.
I'd forgotten.
Rottweilers, all of it. And this vet, I guess, I didn't know she took him to the vet to get his nails trimmed or something. And so he was standing up looking out of the window so you could see his rolls going down his back and through his legs. And I thought it was precious.
I gotta find that.
I helped raise Chief. I love that dog. And so she just went off a long paragraph about how she's had enough.
And our poor cousins in the group chat are going, what the hell?
And Kelsey's like, oh, she like separately texted our other cousin Courtney and was like, what the hell? And
the side group chats.
Holly was like, I've had enough. The vet already said he needs to lose a few pounds. And I was like, oh, so you're mad at the vet, not me. But it's because I'm crossfire.
I was so pregnant. Like, when I'm not pregnant, I never was mad about that.
I texted Mom. I was in Dallas, and I was like, look, I know she's pregnant, and I completely, like, I am here to take the punchings that she's needed. But towards the end, I was like, I am about to give you every spicy food known to man. I'm about to tell Zach to do whatever it is to help you get this baby out. Like,
mamas, you got to back me up in the comments. You got to tell me some of your crazy hormonal like freakouts you've had, because I didn't have many, but up towards the end there, I started losing it. And I was like, what is wrong with me? But oh my God, I forgot about that. That the vet was like, yeah, he can lose a few pounds.
I was like, okay, never mind. And he still is the sweetest, chunkiest baby, but like, that's cheap. If he was skinny, he wouldn't be cheap.
Yeah, I love him to death. Like, he's just a chunk.
Okay, we'll do like 2 questions. So this one says, do you have any habits you want to change?
Oh, of course. Don't we all? I think my biggest one right now is super cliche. Like, ever since I got pregnant, working out has just dropped off. Like, I used to work out 3-4 times a week religiously my whole life. And once I got pregnant, I just didn't. Like, I don't know. So I just dropped off. So I really need to get back into that. But that's kind of boring and cliche. I'm trying to think of.
Well, being a mom itself is hard. Like, it's mentally draining, and the gym takes a lot of that too. But it's like, sometimes it's just, what kind of time do I have to dedicate? Or you can just do something in the living room while, you know, your daughter's playing.
I did not realize, and anybody who's a parent can probably back me up on this, I didn't realize how much time I wasted before I had kids. Like, you don't realize how much time you truly have in a day until you have a kid, and then all of a sudden you don't have that time anymore. And you're like, man, I wasted so much time doing dumb stuff. But,
no, not wasted. It's just you had more time to cherish.
Yeah, and nowadays just look a little different, and I have to carve it out in my day, and I got to make it work, and I'll get back to it. But
I don't know if there's any habits I want to change, because I've done a lot of changing in the past 4 years. I'm kind of tired. I will say, habits that I've developed, different habits. I've had to drop certain things like caring what people think or obsessing too much in my own brain. But I think habits I want to pick up is doing more things for me, finding more time for me. I feel as if, and I know everybody probably thinks that's very vain, but if people knew me, they would understand I put a lot of my energy into other people, and I'm always at work. I'm always helping customers. I'm always helping family. I'm always out doing something, going to another bachelorette, another wedding, another party, that when I want to go to the lake, or I want to take my dogs to the lake and throw sticks around, or if I want to go, I don't know, walk around the farmer's market, I want to do that stuff. And I want to make it more of a habit to put myself first. Reading my Bible every day has gotten better. I think I need to read more rather than just one story. I think I need to get into that more.
I will say that is one habit I'm glad I've been sticking to for several months now, but I'm in and maybe people relate to this, like I'm in kind of a rut. Like, I'm still reading to keep the habit and keep the discipline, but sometimes you feel like on fire and you're really getting a lot out of the Bible, and then other times you're like, man, I can't
Well, and I also had that too. And I used to be so hard on myself for, reading so much every day and then dropping off for a week. And I was like, this is how I finally figured out. Just because you're reading doesn't mean you're actually doing or understanding what he's telling you to do. And for me, when I read, it is like that's my worship time. I'm not just reading. I'm also upset. I'm crying. I'm like, God, I don't understand. I'm circling. I'm Googling. I'm doing all kinds of things. But when I don't get a chance to read my Bible, the entire day for 24 hours, I am never not thinking of him. I am constantly talking to him in my head. I'm constantly asking him to make sure my words are chosen correctly with some people at work. Like there's not a thing that I don't do that I don't first. It's kind of weird. It's almost like he's my little shoulder person. Even in the gym, I'm like, God, I don't want to do this right now. I'm exhausted. I'm so tired. Please give me the strength to get through this. Help me push through it. And as I'm working out, I'm like, God, is this glorifying you? How can I help somebody else? What can I do tomorrow? Just because you don't read doesn't mean you can't still have conversations with God. And that was one habit I had to learn, was that just because you read every day, that does not mean you have a relationship with him.
Well, and I find it really important to not be ruled by my emotions or my feelings. And so
ditto.
Even if I don't feel it that morning, I'm going to find something to read. Even if it's one single verse, I'm going to sit there and do it just to keep the discipline and the habit. Because, the second you start saying, I'm not feeling it, and don't do it, you're going to drop off real quick. So even if I'm in a rut and I'm not feeling super filled with the Holy Spirit,
you're not going to all the time.
You just got to keep doing it anyway, because
you can also be on, how everyone says, be on fire for the Lord. And I completely get that. That's such a wonderful feeling. But there's also be calm with the Lord, be present, be set. There's just a different kind, especially when you've matured and you're figuring out your faith. It gets harder, but you know who fights your battles, so you don't worry as much.
Well, and even if I don't know what in the world to read that day, I'll open the Bible app, look at the verse of the day, and look it up in my Bible and think about it. And if that's all I can manage that morning, depending on where my brain's at, well, I at least started my day trying to get connected and get my mind right. But
I'm going to do a fun one because I feel like we don't need too hot and heavy. This one is, if you had the choice of becoming famous, would you want to?
What kind of famous? What am I famous for?
That's not the question, Holly.
Okay.
That's not the question.
A little backstory. Lacey hates these games with me because I overcomplicate every question.
No, it could be what is the same color as blue? Okay, but there's also turquoise. And there's also indigo.
But my brain
and there's pastel blues.
Am I famous because I became a serial killer, or am I famous because
if you had the choice of becoming famous for whatever made you famous, would you want to? Say this podcast.
The podcast? I could handle it.
Okay, then say something stupid. Something went viral.
I look at celebrities and I don't want their life. In general, no. I do not want to be famous. If I'm known because of something like this podcast and we're doing really good things for the world, cool. I will deal with the fame that comes with that. But do I want it? No. I'm a very private person. I don't like people in my personal life very much.
It says, if you had the choice. Honestly, I think if you had asked me that question back in college, yeah.
I'd like
because
to be rich.
That would have, back in college, that would have meant I could afford things, I could pay off my debt, all this stuff. Nice, yes. But at 28, no. It's one of those things where if it happens because God designed it that way, then I will honor him and do everything to the glory of him. 100%. But now it's not, for me, no. Because I've protected my heart and I've protected my peace more than I ever have in my life. So I worry that would get disrupted.
Now, I'll be honest with everybody listening, Lacey and I both struggle all the time with any attention we get on social media. Any comments, anything that's in response to what we're doing here, we struggle with it because we're both very private people, and it's hard to deal with a bunch of strangers' opinions and comments and criticisms, and our instinct is to withdraw and not put ourselves out there, but then we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. So it's kind of something God's working on us both with, like just having the courage to deal with internet trolls. And we're not even like that big yet, but when we do get comments,
there's still some people that like to add their 2 cents, and sometimes the 2 cents comes with a little bit of bitterness,
and you have to let it go.
No, not just that, but we loved doing this because this was something that we knew would not only help us grow in our faith, but we wanted to help our closest friends and family that kept asking us questions. That was the main thing, was we wanted to educate ourselves, educate our closest friends and family. And if God decides to use this however he wants to use it, then we will do as we are called to do no matter what. But in terms of being famous, like celebrity status, I would rather not.
Yeah. I mean, and I know people say, oh, poor celebrities, they're rich. How hard could it be?
But you never get privacy.
You can't even walk outside your apartment without getting blasted with photography. I mean, I bet it's hard. I really do have sympathy for them. And people may say, well, they asked for it. Kind of. They liked what they were doing, but they didn't ask to be harassed and stalked and
we're all human at the end of the day, and we're all dealing with something that all of us know nothing about. So just be kind. It's not hard to be kind.
It always blows my mind when people on the internet criticize, say, for instance, like a musician, they criticize their work, and I'm like, where do you get off doing, like, what talent do you have? Like,
some people are just upset in their own lives, and they're just going to take it. Hurt people.
It's crazy.
But we will... What are we going to call this? The basket of cards, or the basket of questions?
I might need to find one that's not a bunny.
Yeah, let's not get a bunny in here. But we figured we'd open up with some fun questions and maybe more of insightful topics.
And just to kind of get us rolling here, how is work and prep? Same old.
Yep. Still traveling, still working every week. We are officially in the cut. We're 9 weeks out. So it is grind time, cardio. It's a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
But Holly, you're sort of about to go back to work.
Yeah. I have been a stay-at-home mom for probably 8 months now, and I'm about to go back full-time as a lawyer. I don't have a job solidified just yet, but I've got some feelers out there and some things that look pretty promising. And it's definitely not something I was expecting to do, but financially it makes the most sense for our family. And I think Jesse's at a really good age for me to go back. That first year, they're real dependent on you. But I think she's at a good place. And at first I was kind of like upset about it, but now I'm getting kind of excited. I'm like, man, I'm kind of excited to get back to practicing law and to be able to have an experience that'll allow me to speak to working moms on this platform here that we have. Like, I'll be able to better understand being a working mom. I did it for 3 months when Jesse was, a newbie. Like, I went back to work for 3 months before I quit, so I do know what it feels like, but this will be more of a long-term basis. And so I'm kind of just trying to trust God that he's going to use this to help me speak to working moms in a way that I might not have otherwise. So yeah, that's a really long way of saying I might be going back to work pretty soon. So that's what's up with my life.
I think it'll be good. It'll bring good change.
I'm getting kind of excited. I'm trying to have a good attitude about it, trusting where God's taking me. So it's gonna be good.
Well, and y'all, let's get into the topic for today. Holly and I were kind of going back and forth on this because we know it's a very fine line that we needed to kind of straddle. But we're going to be talking about modesty today.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. We know a lot of people are kind of divided on that, and that's okay. But as always, we try to relate everything back to Scripture and try to bring in the text, even though we're learning ourselves. But with modesty, I think the reason why it was big on my heart was obviously the bodybuilding. I definitely get told all the time, well, what you're doing isn't modest. You're getting on stage, you're walking around in a bikini, flaunting your body. And I see their point, and I guess if I wasn't in the bodybuilding world, I would probably think similar. But when you're in bodybuilding and you're actually doing it and you're eating and fueling your body every day with the right amount of macros, nutrients, protein, carbs, there's not a thought in my head that goes to, I can't wait to show off my body.
There may be some people who do, but
and that's true.
That's
true.
Your heart
but
for it.
For me, this competition has been so mentally hard for me that I think every bit of it, if I went about it wanting to be vain, then
that wouldn't sustain you.
No, it's not even that. It's that I wouldn't be as conflicted, because I have done everything for the glory of God. I have told him, if this is not something you want me to do, remove it from my life. If bodybuilding is something you want me to not focus on, remove it from my life. And he has yet to. And there's nothing he's done to ever tell me to go away from it. And during this process, though, I've learned a lot about my hormones, about my PCOS, about what I need to do to work out for my different hormones and my different menstrual phases. But I told one of my friends that was like, don't care what they think. Don't care what they think. I definitely don't care what they think or what other people think. It's more about, I care what God thinks of me. And I had to come to a serious conversation with myself that, am I honoring God by doing this? Am I doing this the right way? Or am I just doing it because it's a cool sport? It's a hard sport.
It's a mental discipline.
But that's when I brought it to Holly's attention. I'm like, we need to bring up modesty and we need to look into this.
We even put a question out there, and we had a lot of people that follow us say, yeah, talk about it. We want to hear it. So it's not just us. Like, it's not just bodybuilders. There's women.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
all over.
there's 100% the intentionality behind what you're doing. If you're going to the bars to get attention, to get hit on, to get free drinks, the intentionality is to self-fulfill. If you're hanging out with your friends or you're at the bar and you're already getting discernment of you're not supposed to be there, this is not your place, and you leave, that was from God. That was probably you growing spiritually. If you're out with the girls having margaritas and you're in a casual top, some jeans or sweatpants, I don't care what you're wearing, but you're just having a good time and you're just hanging out with the girls, that's different. If you're there to strictly see the guys or strictly see boys or get a boy to talk to you, intentionality. It's all goes back to your heart and what your, I think essentially, what is your motive?
That right there is the bottom line. Modesty is a heart issue, first and foremost. It's not now it can be about your clothing, but it's not primarily a clothing issue. It's a heart issue, and the clothing is just a product of a heart issue.
Everything we do is a product of what we think and what we feel and our emotions and our heart. And it's actually, Holly knows this, the bikini part is actually the part I'm dreading. I do not want to go up there in a bikini.
It's the hardest part.
I don't want to be up there in heels. I don't want to be up there in a bikini. I hate it, but that's the only way in this sport that you place or you get a trophy or whatever the case. But people say, okay, well, if you don't like it, then why not do it? Because the discipline and the strength I've had throughout this entire prep is different than I've ever had in my life. I've been able to conquer fears. I've been able to get rid of thoughts that would bother me for years. I've been able to just let things roll off my shoulders more. I've had a certain level of discipline that I don't think I would have been able to get if I didn't push myself in something that God knew motivates me. I like working out. I love fitness. I have always loved fitness. We've been athletes our entire lives. It's just been one of those things where it's about, this is something that's changing my entire way of thinking. And it's wonderful. Now, when I get on stage and I'm proud of myself, you damn right. If I place, I'm going to be proud. And if I don't place, I'm still going to praise him. I'm still going to do it because I worked immensely hard. But when we get back to what it says biblically, that's when people are like, oh, but God says don't do this. Oh, but God says don't do that. Okay.
I don't think they're reading it.
Let's talk about it. So Holly and I have some notes that we've brought up, and one of them is bodies are not shameful.
That's point number one we want to get across. Your body is not something to be ashamed of, period. Like, I don't care what you look like, you're not supposed to be ashamed of your body. We are created in God's image. I mean, Adam and Eve walked around butt naked for
That was how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that we were supposed to be walking around without clothes. And it wasn't until sin entered the world that we all of a sudden felt shame surrounding our bodies and started wearing clothing.
Well, and some people are going to say, now you're only picking out scripture that supports your unique perspective, that supports what you're doing. I've had a lot of people say, well, you're only saying things biblically, or you're using the Bible to support a sin. And it's not the case. And this is where I get frustrated. So
shame is not from God.
you're right. But like in Psalm 139, 13 through 14, for you formed my inner parts. You knitted me in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Mm-hmm. Those of us that have figured it out and have studied the word and have spent time with God, you are not the world. The world is not in you. God is in you. Jesus is within you. He is your way. He is your life. He is your light. There's a difference. And when you work through him and everything you do goes through him and his word and according to what he wants with your life, I can't explain it other than your mindset is transformed. I do not go into the gym in a skimpy outfit. I am in sweatpants and the baggiest shirt you will ever think. Do I care? No. At the end of the day, I'm sitting there knowing that each workout I push myself through is fueling my body, is helping my hormones, is helping me get back to healing my body that's been in fight or flight mode for 4 years. It has been a different mindset, and I am proud to show that body the day that I step on stage. I'm going to reveal what I've worked so hard for, but I couldn't have gotten there if I didn't have the glory of God within my heart. It just wouldn't have happened.
But I think modesty is going to look different for every person. Every person's going to feel convicted about it in a different way. And just because you're not supposed to be ashamed of the way God crafted you, you're not supposed to be ashamed of your body, does that mean you should walk around town with half your butt cheeks hanging out? I don't know. That's between you and God. That's a heart issue. How do you feel about it? What do you think God would tell you to do? And we're walking a very fine line here, y'all, because men and women, there's a double standard. There is not a single person that looks at a male bodybuilder and says, you're not being modest. No one looks at men like that. But women have very traditionally, historically been sex symbols. Their body is curvy. It is sexy. It is desirable. So typically women get looked at under a much harsher microscope than men do. And that stinks. I hate that for women, but that's kind of what we're up against as females. Like your coach, he just had a bodybuilding competition. Not a single person would say, you're not being modest. Like, no one would say that to a man. I just find that kind of interesting that double standard is there.
And that's what we deal with. Another point is the victim is not at fault.
Right. This one is big for me. This is where Holly gets a little heated, because just working in the law and the criminal world, I hate when people say they hear an account of a woman getting attacked, getting unwanted attention, getting assaulted, whatever it may be. And the first thing is, well, how was she dressed? Or she must have been asking for it. Or some disgusting comment like that. I don't care if Lacey walks down this street butt naked. There's no man that has the right to attack her. No, and that just makes me so angry.
Well, and it's distracting what she's wearing. She's got a plunging neckline. She's asking for it.
So
it's kind of like you look at that person that's saying it and you go, why are you thinking that? Why is your brain there? If you are getting distracted, that's a you problem.
There is no other sin that I can personally think of where we hold somebody else accountable for what we did. Like, I feel like people like to throw around the verse, and maybe we've got it written down and I'm kind of going off the top of my head. There's a verse where it's like, we shouldn't cause our brother to stumble. And people often take that verse to mean, oh, well, women, we shouldn't dress provocatively because it might cause men to have lustful thoughts or to cause sinful things. And I'm like, okay, at that point, you're taking the accountability from the man to not have lustful thoughts, and you're putting it on a woman who is dressing however she wants to dress. Like, I feel like that's the only sin where we try to blame another person for what we are supposed to be responsible for. And that's just ludicrous to me.
Some examples are Bathsheba in 2 Samuel 11. And these women all suffered harm. We don't see anything where they weren't blamed or they weren't told they should have been wearing more clothing, etc. But Scripture places the blame on the perpetrator. And men do not get a pass because women were beautiful or they couldn't help themselves.
Yes, Lacey's, like she just said, we're talking about, there's a few stories in the Bible about Bathsheba, Tamar, and Dinah. Bathsheba's the one I know probably the best. She was bathing on a rooftop or something, just minding her own business. And I guess was it David? I think it was David who was, being a peeping Tom, kind of checking her out kind of thing. But
nobody ever criticizes him.
There's nothing in the Bible that ever says it was her fault. And he was the one to be held accountable for his lustful thoughts, for the sins he committed by, I think she was married. I should probably look this up, but I think she was married and he stole her away, basically. He was the one in the Bible held accountable. There was zero mention of, she shouldn't have been bathing on that rooftop. She was asking for it. She shouldn't have been doing that. I just feel like
a lot of people like to place blame on somebody else because they're not taking accountability for something that they should control. And a lot of it is quit being a peeping Tom, quit being a pervert. And because I don't look at, obviously we're women, so we look at things, but I don't look at a woman that has a lower neckline or she's wearing something skimpy. And I don't say, she's asking for it.
No.
Most of the time, because I'm me, I'm like, man, if it's cold outside, I'm like, isn't she cold? But other times I'm going, okay, there's a girl that just walked by in a dress. Okay. I don't think about anything that she did wrong. I just think, okay, there she goes. But most people are going to go, oh my God, she's begging for attention.
I have had other women.
Why does your mind go there? That's so sick.
But it's sad. I've had Christian women tell me, we as women need to dress a certain way so that men can control themselves. I'm like, why is it my responsibility for a man to do what God's called him to do?
Well, that's a lot of other religion thinking
that's
too,
crazy to me. And that's so damaging to young women, to young girls, thinking that it's their fault if a man does something wrong against them because of the way they were dressed. That is so dangerous. I hate that.
Well, and Paul says, you can't say that our bodies were made for sexual immorality. 1 Corinthians 6:13. The argument that we can't control our urges and that men aren't to blame for assaulting women is ludicrous. We weren't made that way. And then we can't blame others for our sin. We covered that one and talked about that one. Again, it all comes back to taking accountability for your own messed up thoughts. Go heal. Go talk to a therapist. Go talk to Jesus some more. Go do your own thing, but quit blaming women for why you're a pervert. Or if you are a woman, quit blaming other women for why you're jealous and you're bitter and you're being hateful. That's not what we're called to do. The no dress code in the Bible, let's talk about that one. 1 Timothy 2:9, I also want the women to dress modestly, with decency, propriety, adorning themselves not with elaborate hairstyles or gold or pearls or expensive clothes.
I love this one.
So then can we go back and say that famous people are sinning because they've got Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Prada, Chanel, Balenciaga, all these things? I mean,
people love
that's not what we're called to do.
People love to take this out of context. They love to look at the verse and say, women are supposed to dress modestly with decency and propriety. And they go, yep, that's it. You're supposed to cover up, wear turtlenecks 24/7, whatever. But what they're not looking at is the context and the culture at the time. The problem at the time is that women were dressing in excess to show off and to show how wealthy they were, to show how well off they were. So that's why that second part of the verse where it says not with elaborate hairstyles or gold or pearls or expensive clothes. How many people do we know that wear gold, pearls, and expensive clothes to church every Sunday? But apparently we're not supposed to do that if we're dressing modestly. We're supposed to be more understated, not flashy, not showy. But people don't want to talk about that. They think it's all about necklines and skirt lines. And I feel like that often gets taken out of context. So, the issue, like I said, is an issue of excess, an issue of showing off and the heart behind why you're dressing that way, not just coverage, just covering up.
If we're taking modesty, y'all, if we're going to play with that term, if you look up modesty on Google or what is the other one, ChatGPT, there's a few ways it describes it. 1, personal behavior, 2, appearance and dress, speech and communication. But if you break that down, modesty often implies humility, not boasting about one's achievements or qualities. It can also mean self-restraint or avoiding seeking behavior. So how is it that when a bodybuilder or somebody who's even, let's just say it is, a bikini model, let's say someone who that's her living or that's his living, there's fueling their body with the right nutrients, with the right, essentially they're respecting their temple. God also calls us to not overeat. Let's not talk about that. It's always okay to shame people, except when it comes to their body weight, right? It's always okay to make fun of people's appearance until it gets down to body weight. Oh, but I have a thyroid problem. Oh, but I have yeah, so do I. My thyroid doesn't work. I have immune problems. I have PCOS. My body is fighting me every chance it gets. I'm still not using that as an excuse. I'm fueling my body with whole foods, with nourishing foods, with herbs, with natural medicine. People love to make excuses for why they are constantly sinning. So if you go into it even deeper, appearance and dress, it can modesty may refer to.
We're not saying if you're fat, you're sinning. That's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about.
No, but you can't sit there if you are overweight or if you are a little heftier and you're sitting there making fun of somebody who's doing what they got to do in the gym or they're eating properly. What makes you any better? Like, seriously, you're just being hateful at that point, and that's laziness. This might get me a lot of hate, but I've always been the one that's hated. At the end of the day, you cannot sit there and be disrespectful to somebody who's taking care of their body and their temple that biblically they are asked to do when you are overeating, which is biblically what you are asked not to do.
It's just hypocrisy. Like, I mean, you're
100%.
You're calling out somebody for something when your slate is not clean. And in any context, whether it's modesty or something else, that's not okay. And modesty, if it's an issue of the heart in terms of excess, in terms of pride, I mean, that can translate to a lot of things.
Well, and this one says appearance and dress, which is very true. It may be referring to dressing in a way that avoids drawing sexual or excessive attention. This is often influenced by cultural or religious standards, and we know this. Number 3, speech and communication. Speaking modestly involves not exaggerating one's talents, avoiding offense or boastful language. So at the end of the day, be humble.
Yeah, and then it's funny you mentioned that because I looked up
it's dignity and self-respect.
I looked up the Greek word for modesty as it's in the Bible. If you look up the Greek word that was used, it translates more directly to downcast eyes. So that is referencing, at the time, it meant like humility and self-control. So modesty was more about a heart issue of humility, of self-control, of not having excessive pride in yourself, in your possessions. It wasn't just about, oh, her boobs are hanging out, oh, her butt's hanging out. Because think about it, there's a bunch of like tribes in Africa who don't wear much at all, and they're not being immodest. That's just their culture.
No, and biblically we're always called to be humble. And I think when we start to idolize jewelry, fancy brands, expensive brands, certain shoes, clothing, that's when it starts to get twisted, because now we're idolizing the materialistic things we're putting on our body rather than the things we should be consuming, like God's food, whole foods, vegetables, fruit, things like that God actually gave to the world to use. I think a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, it's okay to every now and then want something pretty and want something fancy, and that's okay. But when you do it in excess, when you do it to a point where now you are showing it all over social media, you're showing it to all your friends, maybe you're broke because you're trying to impress somebody, whatever the situation, it still goes back to modesty can be taken in many different forms. And it's not just, oh, you're showing your skin, you're showing your abs, you're showing this.
Well, and I think we kind of skipped a verse too. Matthew 5:28. Jesus said, anyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. He didn't say,
if she dresses a certain way.
If she's dressed, if she's dressed scandalously, then you get a pass for thinking about her that way. Nope. He said, if you look at her with lustful intent, you have already sinned. He didn't say, oh, well, you get a pass because her skirt was pretty short, or man, her top was hanging down, so you can't you're not to blame. No, he put the blame on the person who is looking at someone with lustful intent. So that whole...
And the same goes to women too. Women, it's easy to do so, and it's sometimes as women, it's more. Sometimes it's jokingly, like, oh yes, this certain celebrity is attractive, for sure. But when it gets to the point where you cannot stop looking at somebody only to look at their body and only to look at them in a certain desirable way, you might want to shift your thinking a bit.
It's so much harder to flip the coin and talk about men being immodest because culturally, societally, we don't think about men that way. Like if a man walks around shirtless, nobody thinks anything of it. But if a woman does, all of a sudden, holy
You know what's funny to me is when women, we have our bra and our panties, whether that's grandma panties, whatever it is. But then, and everyone's like, oh, you can't show that, cover up. Oh my gosh, you're revealing yourself. But then as soon as we go to the pool or to the beach and we're in a bikini, it's the same thing. And it's like, oh, your bikini's so cute.
Yeah, I've never understood that one. It's cool when it's a swimsuit, but the second it becomes undergarments, we're all kind of weirded out.
And there's, to keep this moving, there's no dress code in the Bible. 1 Timothy 2:9. I also want the women to dress modestly with decency and propriety, adorning themselves. We've already talked about that. The issue being addressed is excess. So with that, I also want to say that with the women I've spoken to about this, and the women we've had very detailed conversations, sometimes we like to feel pretty, right? Like there's nothing wrong with feeling beautiful. There's nothing wrong with getting your hair done, getting maybe some new earrings, all that. But again, your heart behind it. Are you doing this because you know that maybe you just crushed something at work, you closed that deal, you finished that sale, you did whatever it was, and you're like, I'm gonna go get my nails done. I'm gonna go get my nails done. Or are you saying, oh my gosh, so-and-so would think I'm so hot if I bought this right now. There's that...
Or I want to make someone else feel bad and show off how much I have. Like that.
Yeah, that's where it goes back to, are you using the riches that God has bestowed upon you, are you using it to help other people and to love one another the way He's asked us, or are you using it for self-gain?
And if Lacey was approaching, for instance, her bodybuilding competition with the intent that I'm going to look so stinking good on stage. I'm going to post it all over social media, and I'm going to like make everyone else feel bad because I look so dang good. If that was the heart behind it, she wouldn't have lasted this long, because that is not enough to drive you through months and months of diet, of exercise.
My coach knows this, and if he watches this, he knows it. I hate posting. I hate it. I hate posting that I'm at the gym, or that look at my progress, I'm 9 weeks out, look at this, because in my head, all I think about is that I still have a lot of work to do. I still have things I want to work on. I still need to fuel my body. I need to do a lot of more cardio, but people don't get that. Just because I post something, that doesn't mean that I'm boasting. It's more to say, guys, look how far I've come. This is really cool. If anybody wants to do this, whether you have PCOS, endometriosis, thyroid issues, as a guy, if your testosterone's not high enough, you can do it. And my whole message behind it was, look at me. I do have PCOS. I have adrenal fatigue. My thyroid's not working as well as it should, but I'm still doing it. I'm still having my body go through a process that's not only consuming nutrients, but it's also making sure that I don't overindulge. I don't overdo something, and that I'm glorifying God in the process. So it's a very fine line to walk, and I do not like to post. I actually get very nervous when I post because I know people have their thoughts.
And they're going to. And part of modesty is you can't control what people think about you. You know, if you know that what you're wearing and what you're putting out there, you feel comfortable with, and you and God have talked about it, and you're solid, it's hard not to worry, because people are critical.
Well, I mean, to wrap it up in a pretty bow, who are we to judge?
Yeah, we're not.
We're allowed to help and give advice when it's wanted and asked, but we're not allowed to just be disrespectful and try to correct someone's behavior when we have our own behavior to correct.
So do you think, like, because there's someone going, okay, but like, if let's just say we're Christian women, do you think it is appropriate, because we are Christian, to dress scandalously, to put it one way? Like, should we be doing that, or is that just between us and God? Like, or is there a standard as Christians?
I think when you have repented and you have given your life to Christ, you've surrendered, and whether you've been rebaptized, reborn, I think there's a level of respect you have for yourself to where you no longer think that way. You no longer want to dress that way. You no longer want to wear skin-tight clothing or plungy necklines. However, I will say, when I rededicated my life and I surrendered everything to Him and my mindset changed, even going out to certain bars, I like to go two-stepping. I love to go out and dance. So if somebody's like, hey, let's go to a two-stepping bar, I'm going to go, but I'm going to go with my blinders and everything attentive. And I'm going to make sure that I'm doing everything appropriate. I'm not going to overindulge in alcohol. I'm not going to overindulge in their behavior, but I'm not going to judge them either. That's not my place. So if anything, when I go out with the girls and we go to a rodeo or we go to some place fun, a little cocktail lounge, we're talking about Christ. And it's kind of weird because people said, you can't do that. Yeah, you can. Yeah, sure. You can. Yeah. And we talk about God the entire conversation. We're not gossiping. We're not talking ill of other women. We're not sitting there putting down other people. We're talking about how we can better our lives or their marriages, their boyfriends, their lives. We're talking about how we can help one another. So when it goes back to clothing, especially, I'm going to reference myself here. Back in college or even in the workout days where I was still learning fitness, I used to dress with shorter shorts, or I'd wear a sports bra, or, don't get me wrong, after cardio, you're sweating like a pig. So sometimes taking that shirt off helps cool you down, like if you came out of a sauna. But I think, again, if your intent is to take off your shirt and to wear something tight because I'm going to show off my booty cheeks or I'm going to show off this and I want that man in the corner to look at me, that's the wrong intention. If you take it off because you're sweating balls and you're like, I need to breathe for a second, and because I'm in my little corner and I need to put my podcast on or my headphones and focus and let me finish my workout, that's different. It all goes back to, what is your heart? What is your intention behind this? Is it easy to fall short? 100%. We all do it. Mm-hmm. But I know from my past and how much I used to fall short. I got tired of that. I got tired of seesawing. So now it's like, look, I'm going to work my butt off and I'm going to make my figure back to where it needs to be. And I'm going to get it right. I'm going to fuel my body. And if I place, great. If I don't, I still don't care. I don't care. I'm not doing it for the trophy. I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because my body started to attack itself. It was a little traumatized. So now I've got to heal it. Oh, but you have PCOS. That's okay. I'm not going to let it hold me down. I'm not going to let it take me from the gym. But I've learned so much, and not once did I ever think, oh, I hope a guy sees me when I do this. My first thought is, I'm going to focus. I'm going to put on my podcast. I'm going to do my cardio for 45 minutes. I'm going to hit my workouts. I'm going to go home and I'm going to read. That my first thought in the morning is, God, thank you for getting me through this day. Thank you for getting me up. It's just a mindset, y'all. And I know even Hudson talked about it in our last podcast. Mm-hmm. Everything you do when you are transformed, and literally one of my favorite verses is, do not be transformed by this, or do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. That's one of my favorite verses, because when you are reborn again and you give your life to Christ, I can't explain what happens other than your brain is rewired. Yeah. You don't care to go out and dress in skin tight stuff. If you have a nice outfit, okay, you got a nice outfit. Rocket. But you're not out there wanting eyeballs. You're out there because you feel nice. You look good. You cleaned up. You showered. It looks nice.
I don't think there's anything wrong with liking to look nice.
At the end of the day, y'all, we are called also to take care of our temple. Yeah. We're allowed to take care of it by nourishing foods, by making sure you reset your nervous system, spend time with God. People say there's stuff on tattoos. You know, the temples are covered in tattoos, paintings. Like, there's so many things that we as humans are not allowed to ever force on others or to interpret until we get to heaven. That is when our judgment day will tell us what we did wrong. But if you are doing your best to put everything towards God and God's light, look at these verses that we've picked out and maybe rewire your brain into thinking, if I'm looking at some girl and all I'm looking at are her girlies, that's probably your brain. You need to rewire your brain.
If you do see, for example, I know we're using women a lot as an example because
we get picked on a lot.
Who gets picked on. Like, you see a woman dressed, provocatively. Okay, maybe that isn't the wisest way for her to dress, but number one, that's none of your business.
No,
that's none of your business.
And you judging her is just as bad as her doing whatever she's wanting to do.
And number two, if you're a man or whatever, that does not give you the right to treat her in a way,
that's
any way you want to. Like, that's the Bible teaches, if nothing else, self-respect and respect for others.
Absolutely.
So if you're talking modesty and you're worried about how you're dressing, well, dress in a way that respects yourself, that respects how God created you, that respects your body, whatever that looks like. That's going to be different for everybody. And if we're looking at other people, like, respect them. Like,
and it's also just, it's so weird because it's such a hard thing to do. But I think, again, it all just goes back down to your emotional maturity and where you're at with your relationship with God. But for me, it's like, I want others to see Christ through me. I want others to, if they've never been in the church, they've never had a religious background, they're new to it, maybe they're atheists. I want someone to be so transformed by how I treat them and how loved they are because I love them through the way God loves me. I want them to know whatever she's doing, I want to do that because she's got it figured out with Christ, not myself. I am not me. I would not be here if it wasn't for Christ. I would not be here. So a lot of what I've gone through, I want another person who may be in all goth stuff or whatever the people like to say are out of the norm these days. I want someone to know that they can still come to me and the last thing I will ever do is judge them or put them down. If anything, I want them to know that coming to me, just the way I would go to Christ for love and comfort and for honesty, that's exactly what's going to happen because God calls us to love them even when they don't love themselves.
Well, and if you see someone who's dressed in a way that you don't agree with,
it's none of your business.
You can't, you're having a hard time getting over it, you need to talk to God about that. Like, why did it bother you so bad? Like, why are you so worried
or talk to a counselor
about how another person is dressed? Why does it bother you so bad? You need to talk to God about that because maybe they are not dressing the way they should, but why is that any of your business and why does it bother you? Because if I see somebody who is dressed a certain way and we're called to be a light in dark places.
Absolutely.
So if I want to get through to someone who maybe could use a little wisdom in dressing in a different way, my approach to them is not going to be
disrespect.
You're asking to be catcalled. You're asking for men to attack you. No, it's, hey, God loves you. You're designed perfectly.
And that love that they would eventually feel is unlike any other. Mm-hmm. But I'll say this. I picked out some verses that have been strong on my heart and helping me through my prep. And maybe it'll help somebody else who's a fitness guru or who's trying to lose weight and they're nervous about going in the gym with their weight or whatever it is. Whatever your story is, y'all, do it with the intentionality that God is with you. He's going to help you through anything in your life. But here's some verses I picked out. 1 Corinthians 10:31. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Mm-hmm. Again. Another verse, 1 Samuel 16:7. The Lord does not look at things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart.
Mm-hmm. That is huge. That right there.
Exactly.
Like, people are looking at how
Write these down.
But God cares about your heart. So
Proverbs 11:12. Like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful woman who shows no discretion. And he did not say body. He said discretion. That can be mind. That can be thoughts. That can be actions. That can be the way that she's boastful. Again, heart.
And you said it a second ago. We talked about it with Hudson when we asked him, can Christians still go to bars? And he said that's a heart issue. You have to decide why you're going to the bars. If you're just going to, be a light and to two-step or play some pool with your friends, fine. But if you're going because you're trying to get attention or you're trying to get smashed and hammered and be someone you're not supposed to be, that's a heart issue. And it's the same with modesty. If you're putting on a top today and you second guess it and you're going, I don't know if I'm really honoring God with the way I'm dressed today,
Cool.
I mean, think about it. I
You're
don't know.
growing. You're growing.
Yeah.
It's okay. And the last verse I'll leave you with that we've already mentioned, but I think it's super important, is 1 Corinthians 6:19 through 20. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? Therefore, honor God with your bodies. Write that down, put it in the little caption. I don't care, but these 4 verses are so important to me, and I've had them saved for like months because I cannot express when I start to feel that doubt and the devil teasing my mind saying, "Oh, you're about to be in a bikini, you're about to do something bad." I think of this and I go, if I did not start fueling my body and working out the way that God wanted me to, I wouldn't have healed to what it is today. It's still healing, don't get me wrong. Women with PCOS, I feel you. But you're constantly learning. You're constantly fueling your body. I've learned how to balance my carbs, all the things. So y'all, we'll put these verses in there, but those 4 resonate with me and they sit with me daily.
And if you remember nothing else, y'all, we are bought and paid for with the blood of Jesus. Like, he died for us. So the last thing we all need to be worried about is how we're dressed. Now, is it important to an extent? Yes.
But it goes back to heart.
But I feel like if you're judging a person for how they're dressed, you're already sinning against them. You're just as bad.
It's the one finger pointing at you, 2 fingers pointing back.
I'm telling you, it gets me, like, you can see in this episode, we've gotten a little passionate because we are women and we have been objectified. And we've been catcalled, and we've been all of these things. Like,
there's not a thing we haven't heard, y'all.
Yeah, and as a woman, it's really hard because a lot of times there's no winning. Like, you just can't win with people.
It's like that Barbie movie monologue. God, I wish I could print that out. But you can't win.
I swear, you want to get me hot and you want to get me heated. Victim, like, blame the victim. Like, I cannot stand that when I see people who have survived, atrocities.
Makes me want to cry.
Like, when people online are saying, well, look at how they were dressed, why does that make a dang difference?
But those people that say that, look at who they are. When you go to their stuff, look at who their intent, like, their hearts are not pure.
Are you kidding me? I don't care if, now, is this necessarily a good, wise thing to do? No, but if a woman wants to dress in a bikini and go out and get absolutely blottoed and smashed, that doesn't give you a right to harm her.
If anything, take care of her.
Yeah,
help her.
Like, take care of her. Like, be a light. I mean, and let's be less concerned with teaching little girls how to dress and more concerned with teaching little boys how to treat them.
Yeah.
Like, that's where the problem is.
To respect them.
To show them respect and to protect them. Men are called to be protectors. You're not protecting her if you're objectifying her and, thinking about her in a lustful way.
And this goes for men too. Everything, we speak as women because we are women, but men too, we know that you also have moments and times in your life where you're objective. Yeah. But try to keep in mind that both genders here, okay, male and female, that we're talking to, we all are facing trials and thoughts and things that just conflict all day long. But when you have given your life to Christ, wherever you're at in your journey, that confliction and that conviction starts to become almost a good pattern, because now you're able to discern whether or not something is probably not going to be the right way to the Lord, or if you need to go this way and start doing a little bit more research. Allow yourself to question yourself. Allow yourself to say, hey, maybe I'll wear a different top, or maybe I'll do something else today. That's on you. That's your heart. But if you see somebody else who's not quite there yet, remember where you were. And I'm the kind of person where God should not have forgiven me for some of the stuff I did when I was being lustful, and he did without question. So when other people are struggling, my first thought is, I will be here for you when you're ready. I'm not going to force them, but it's not my job to judge them. I'm going to be here for them. I'm going to love them no matter what, because Christ loved me when I didn't deserve it.
And you don't know anybody's life. You cannot claim to know somebody's life or their intentions. And even if you think you do, it's none of your business. Like, we make so much our business that isn't.
Because we're nosy.
Yeah. And, y'all, if you ever are just, like, nervous to be in a gym, come find me or Lacey in the gym. We will be your friend. I'll take care of you. Yeah.
I love making friends in the gym. Everybody's in there for their own battles, and
Yeah.
really,
And we've told a
be
few
kind.
people that we were going to do this topic, and everybody said, "Ooh, careful."
Yeah.
And we know we've probably ruffled feathers and stepped on toes today,
not here to-
and that's fine. We don't have perfect answers for everything, but this is something we wanted to talk about because it's very relevant, and women and men struggle with it. So
if you have some good points, as always, leave them. We love to read them all. But just try to digest and really sleep on what we've talked about, and hopefully it transforms the way you've been thinking. And ladies and men as well. Some steps you can take to be more modest and to try to take that
I didn't think about that
journey. For me personally, my first step towards modesty, I think, as a lot of people might do, is I did start with my clothing. I did. This was just me personally, not because I felt like I was dressing for another person or for anybody else. It's because I wanted to feel, this is kind of weird, hang with me. I felt more beautiful and more feminine when I had like flowier clothing, when I had clothing that was drapey, or it had clothing that wasn't skin tight. I just felt more beautiful.
It's
that
trending.
was just me. But one thing you can do is start finding clothing brands that are a little bit more modest. Ladies, if you're into dresses, long dresses or just dresses in general for weddings, whatever it is, I love the brand called Baltic Born. Mm-hmm. Really good brand, y'all. I mean, good quality, great shipping, customer service. And I sound like I'm an ad right now, but I swear I'm not. I've just bought their clothes. I know, I just bought their clothes. But their dresses are beautiful. They're modest. They're flowy. They're gorgeous. If you want clothing, honestly, I kind of stick to, I'm cheap. I'm cheap. I stick to like Marshall's, Goodwill, Walmart, but I pick things out that are like button downs or things that are flowy and they can kind of be tucked in. Or I like Wranglers. I will wear Wranglers all day long. So I'm in jeans, or I'm in something that's a little bit more like a trouser.
Yeah. Being modest does not mean lacking in style.
No, it doesn't.
You can have a sense of style and fashion.
There's also clothing brands by Christian brands that are really good. Like one is not, oh my God, it's called like Not Yet Home, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they've got, there's a ton, or there's, I don't go to the fancier stuff, so I'm trying to rack my brain. Amazon too, but start picking things that maybe are different. I did a huge closet clean out, y'all. I did a huge one, and I threw away everything that I didn't feel comfortable wearing. For the other part of modesty, that was my biggest one, was I quit being lazy. As weird as that sounds, I just, sometimes there's a fine line to walk with that too. But for men as well, pick out different clothing, try different stores, Gap, Banana Republic, certain stores that are a little bit more on the classier side. But biggest thing, my heart changed when I realized that I'm going to be somebody's wife one day, and I'm going to be somebody's mother. And I want them to look at me and go, wow, she is amazing at how she speaks, at how she does her life, how she works out, how she eats, how she cooks our food. It wasn't about, oh wow, my mom's beautiful. Okay, sure. But I wanted to say, I worked hard to become a woman of Christ so that my family can say, wow, like, how did she do that? I want to figure that out too. But I had to surround myself with the right people. I had to get my butt in the gym and quit making excuses. I had to start eating better foods. Even though I wasn't eating bad, I just didn't know how to proportion it properly. And so I started going to people that were more educated than me, put down that pride and say, I need help. So both men and women, fix your heart, fix where your mind is at. And if you find yourself accidentally lusting or accidentally doing that, because it's easy to do, you're scrolling on TikTok, there's a hot guy and oh my God, curls, mustache, tattoos, you see? But it's like, it's okay to think someone's attractive, but when you start to get thoughts of, ooh, what I would do to that person, or ooh, you know what I mean? That's when you start to go, hold on now. Yeah. Back it up. You almost catch yourself and you cringe a bit and you go, oh.
There may be people sitting there thinking like, I don't think I have an issue with modesty. I don't dress like that. Well, you're kind of in my camp. I've never been someone that like was comfortable showing a whole lot of skin. I mean, it just wasn't my personality. But does that make me better than somebody? No, absolutely not. Like, and if you look at my profession, you have to wear business. Like, you're automatically dressing more conservatively for your job, but you can still like dress, like even in business clothes, you can show more than maybe you should. Or, that blouse, you probably need an undershirt under it, or
throw on a nice blazer. You can fancy it up and get some, like, I bought some jewelry from, get this, a antique store here in town. Like the jewelry you get, y'all, I love it when it tells a story. There's an antique store we have downtown, and they have this massive basket area with jewelry, and I thought, oh, they're probably dirty, wash it, duh. But like their jewelry was beautiful, and it was jewel tones, and it was simple, elegant little studs, and it's like, that's all you need. You don't need these flashy little things and this giant honker. It's like, you don't have to break the bank. You don't have to sit there and buy a bunch of everything. But if there's a few things that you can work on, focus on your inward, focus on yourself and your perception and how God has been teaching you. Don't worry about other people. Don't worry about them. Your bubble, your space, your heart.
And if you're looking for the only thing I can speak, Lacey was giving, clothing recommendations. The only thing I'm really good at speaking to is the business clothes arena. That's my bread and butter. That's what I know. Like, I love the Banana Republic factory outlet. If you are looking at me and you're like, Banana Republic, I can't afford that. Go to their factory outlet. You can get some really amazing stuff. And if you're concerned about a piece of clothing maybe being too tight or too this, just size up. Like, just see what a bigger size looks like on you. Try a different size. Like, maybe you're just in the wrong size. Maybe there's nothing wrong with the top. Yeah.
I've had so many thrifts.
Banana Republic factory outlet. I'm thinking H&M's pretty good. You can make anything work. I bought stuff at Walmart. I bought stuff at Sam's. I think that's part of this whole thing about, dressing in excess. Lacey and I are the first people to tell you, girl, we got these earrings for $4 at Marshall's.
Oh, I preach on
we're
that.
not trying to look like we're better than anybody. Like, we will tell you first off, man, I fished this out of a clearance bin. Isn't it awesome? We're not trying to be like, this is Louis Vuitton and I am better than you because I can afford it and you can't.
That makes me want to cry.
Our intention.
Like, anytime a price sticker is even $20, I'm like, ugh.
Lacey, I jokingly call her a bougie cheap ass. That is what I call her because
I don't like spending money.
I say bougie, but she likes to look nice, look classy, look put together. But Clearly. She doesn't want to pay for it. Like, she will, if she sees something, like, there's things where I look at it and I'm like, that's not that expensive, Lacey. And she's like, I can find that way cheaper at Goodwill.
I'll make it myself.
I'm not doing it. Like, that's the way she is.
The only thing that I invest my money in, and I will say this, so you can look at my statements, I invest in my health 100%. I sometimes spend money on vitamins. I spend money on nutrients. I don't use pharmaceuticals. I'm holistic, but I will spend money making sure my health is taken care of.
I can back her up on this because there was one month where she was like, man, I'd really like to just take a look at my budget. I said, well, send me your bank statement. Let me see. Let's see where your money's going. And I was like, girl, everything's going to food and vitamins. Like, I thought maybe she was going out and shopping or something. No,
I don't buy shit
not a
for
dime.
myself.
It was all food, vitamins. I was like,
I am all about making my own medicine or doing things that are going to benefit me as a mom, as an aunt, as somebody that has to keep up with kids in the future. Something that's going to help my immune system. Everything that I do action-based or emotionally, I will invest my money in. But if it's clothing, I don't care. Like, this came from Academy, but it's comfy. It looks good. These shorts, BCG, and they go all the way down to mid-thigh. Perfect. It's great.
I just thought of something. This is a quick story, and I know we're trying to wrap it up, but like, I have this distinct memory, and I won't give too much information or name names, obviously, but we were at church, and somebody that normally doesn't come to church had come that day, and she wore what I thought was a nice dress, but somebody else came up to her and told her that it wasn't appropriate for church. And that made my skin crawl because...
At your church?
Yeah.
The recent one?
What recent one?
The church you're currently going to.
Yeah, it wasn't a member of the church. I'll have to tell you names later, but like, somebody had told this person that her dress was inappropriate, which I didn't see anything wrong with it, but they felt the need to tell her
because you're not looking at her that way.
And I was like, even if it was inappropriate, she's in church and
why
she's
do you
normally not. Shouldn't we just be celebrating that she's here? Like, it just, oh my God. And if Christians are doing that to other people, no wonder they're not coming to
and
church.
y'all, not every Christian's like that. We're not all like that. Most of us, I don't even say I'm a Christian. I would say I follow Christ. Like, I am a Jesus lover. He is my father. He is my protector, my defender. I am a follower of Christ. And a lot of times, y'all, God doesn't care what you wear to church as long as you show up.
And if you want to come to church and it's your first time and you don't know and you want to walk in stripper heels, you can come sit by me. Like, I'm not going to judge you for your outfit. Like, I'm just glad you're there.
Again, God did eat with sinners and tax collectors and all the things, but he didn't do it because he was trying to prove a point. He did it because they needed him. Mm-hmm. They needed him, not because...
They don't need your judgment.
No, God knew. He was like, he goes, I know that all of you who think you are righteous, and I hate that word, all of you that think you're righteous and you don't need saving, he goes, I'm not here for you. He goes, I'm here for them because they need me.
Yeah.
And people get that twisted.
And there are times when we need to gently correct our brothers and sisters in Christ if we feel like they're stepping outside the lines, but that doesn't mean you get to judge and be mean or hateful, or there's a loving way to go about that. And I had to bring up that story because it popped into my head and I was like, oh my gosh, if that's the way.
And if you are that person, maybe this can hit you across the face and to say, check yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to do some self-inward work. And once you do, and you feel that shift, you're going to start looking at people in a very different light.
Like, you're in church. Why are you looking at her dress?
It's more of a, why does that bother you?
Yeah, why does it bother you?
Or what is there, even if they are, let's say you hear some people gossiping, you hear some people being super disrespectful, or maybe they are dressing a certain way for a certain reason. Why is that your problem?
I'm telling you.
Leave it alone.
If people could get a hold of the phrase, it's none of my business, your life would be a lot simpler.
Well, social media has made it easy for people to do that.
We think everything's our business, but it's not.
Yes, so we're not rambling on so much. Y'all, we will put these verses, and I'll send Holly the ones that I've had saved in my phone because I look at them all the time when I start to feel that little demon that gets in your head and he starts to say, oh, you're flaunting too much. Oh, you're doing this. I truly go back to these verses and I read them over and over again because we cannot twist it to fit our narrative. And it is what it is. He's called us, yes, to be modest, but also not to be boastful. And in our hearts, in our actions, in our thoughts. And people tend to get that mixed because of our society. But if any of this has applied to you or you know somebody it can apply to, we hope that you take these steps. We hope that you look at it differently. Modesty is always going to be something I think people butt heads about. But at the end of the day, look at your heart.
And are Lacey and I perfect? No, not even close. So if we have said something that you don't resonate with, cool, that's between you and God. Like that, if you know you're right with God and you don't agree with something we've said, cool.
Just because you think you're right with God doesn't mean that you've done the work. Like, that doesn't mean the same thing.
Hey, we've probably dressed in ways we shouldn't have.
I know I have.
Past. Like, I'm sure I think about some outfits, I'm like, that was questionable.
I know I did. But it's like, I mean, everyone has their callings. Everyone's convicted. Everyone has been through something that has led them to a new story. You don't know what chapter of their story you're in. You don't know. Yeah. So keep your mouth shut and just be kind.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, you would think. But yeah, that is our very hot topic on modesty. And we will see y'all in June. Got some good stuff coming in June. And in June, we're pumped because we're going to have new microphones. Yay! We're still using the old ones, but I swear I've put my dogs outside, so you shouldn't hear them. And hopefully the sound was decent. But next episode, we should have some really excellent sound.
And we're going to be doing, still doing our advice from our brothers in Christ. Yeah. So next month, we're going to have another guest on the show, and we're just going to do that interchangeably because we do want men to be welcomed into this podcast more than I think, they feel. So stay tuned for that. I don't know if it'll be the next one or episode 10. Not too sure yet.
Not sure yet.
But we will be doing another advice from our brothers in Christ.
Yeah, and yay for new mics. So, yeah, we will see y'all in June. Have a good one.